Well, hello everyone out there. Welcome to Center Court. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We're going to talk about the master's degree in management analytics from the Toronto School of Management at the University of Toronto. And with us today to explore that wonderful program is the Associate Director of Career Curriculum and Consulting for Rotman Specialized Master's Programs, Amberine Hyatt. And we have with us in the house a 2021 graduate who currently works as an analytical lead for Google. Her name is Wincy Lee. Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
So, Amberine, tell us about the program, the nuts and bolts of it. It is a full-time residential program, yes?
Absolutely. So at Rotman, we do have a robust portfolio of specialized master's programs, including the Master of Finance and Master of Financial Risk Management program. But for today's presentation, happy to provide you insights into our Master of Management Analytics program. So the nuts and bolts. The Rotman MMA program, it's a transformative experience. It's designed for individuals seeking a career in the field of analytics and data science. It's best suited for recent graduates looking to either enter this growing space, early career professionals aiming to advance their careers, or career changers seeking a pivot. So our graduates have gone on to pursue rewarding careers in a wide range of industries. For the most part, I'd say within finance and consulting industries, but for roles within analytics teams. But what we are seeing is a growing trend within technology, CPG, retail, real estate, and healthcare. I'd say during the pandemic, analytics teams became a pretty good focal point in an area, and so they were built out. And this really opened up new pathways for our students into industries that otherwise we hadn't tapped into. And yes, our students are placing quite well. Our 2022 graduates or cohort, which is our most recent graduating class, they achieved remarkable placement outcomes with 97% placing jobs within 3 months of post-graduation.
And this is a one-year program, right?
It is. It is.
Okay. So people start in September, let's say?
They would start in August and they would go through until June of the following year.
Great. So I'm assuming it's a pretty intense and rigorous program, yes?
It is. It is. It's quite robust. It's academically challenging. We have quite a bit of career curriculum that's also built in. And so what I would say is your time is well utilized.
I bet. So who's best suited for this program and what kind of careers come out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I would say individuals who are really looking to enter the space of analytics are probably best suited. Those that are early in their career, so it's what we call a pre-experience program. So those that are coming into the program either directly from their undergraduate degrees or 1 to 2 years of work experience. Those that are looking to make a pivot into this space or looking for a change are also ideal candidates for this particular program. Again, the types of roles that come out of this, because it ranges in the types of industries that you can tap into, you're looking more into data scientist role, data analyst role, those that kind of are in within that space.
Right. And let's turn to your alum. What led you to pursue the degree in the first place?
Yeah, I decided to go for my MMA because I was looking for something that was a mix of analytics, like the quantitative side of things. I really enjoy helping organizations make data-driven decisions, but also the business side of things. Something I found like so in between the program, I worked a little bit between my undergrad and doing this program. So something I found I loved in my role is like being able to tie a project to the business impact it's going to have. So what I
Right.
really loved about the MMA is it's exactly that. It's like somebody who's interested in working with numbers, like digging into data, but then it also teaches you like how are you going to tie this to the strategy? How can you think bigger picture and how can you make a case? So I found it's a really good mix of the two skills.
What's the average age of the students in the class, given the fact that it's a pre-experienced program?
Say about early 20s.
Yeah, that's great. And Wincy, tell us a little bit about the learning experience. What was it like to actually go in there and do this program?
Yeah, I will say my experience may have been a bit different since I did the master's during COVID, so it was online. But I would say even then, it was great because the profs, you can tell they really care. And I find like the program is short, it's quite condensed. So I think the point earlier about your time being utilized very efficiently and effectively is true. They squeeze a lot of content in there. But I found the best part of the learning experience was, again, like the profs themselves. Like it's a really good mix. Actually, there's like you have your traditional courses, but there's also courses where you get to hear from people who actually work in the industry. So you get a mix of the academic
Right.
and like real world experience. So it was really helpful to learn like, okay, these are the latest data science techniques. And then you hear about, okay, in the real world, this is how it translates. So it was a really good mix.
Now, what do you say were the tangible or intangible skills you actually walked away with from the program?
hmm So I think a lot of people coming into the program would be curious, like, will it teach me how to build a model code? And so, yes, it definitely does. There is a really wide range of backgrounds that come into this program, though. So I would also say, like, what I found was helpful is to do the pre-work before coming into the program so that you have an idea of, okay, this is an area I really want to focus on. But it does give you like some kind of basis for how to actually build models. So that's great. And then in terms of like some of the intangible skills, again, there is that focus on business. So some of the skills like, okay, how do you make strategic recommendations? There's a lot of workshops about networking. There's a lot of support on presentation skills. So there is that like focus on soft skills as well.
Right. And I imagine that's essential because one needs to translate data uh,
Definitely.
to harness it for decision making. So what's
Definitely.
one of those kinds of courses, Aberreen?
Absolutely. So we actually have quite an extensive and tailored career curriculum that helps support the more technical learning that happens in the classroom. And some of the areas that we cover are, everything from crafting a compelling resume to mastering your interview skills, both on the technical and other side, building a professional network, really strengthening the techniques on how to build that network and understanding the nuances of various areas of industry. And so those are just some of the areas that are built into our career curriculum. And as Wincy said, there is really a strong focus on the soft skills, really to complement the technical skills, because as you said, that's what industry is asking for. Being able to really translate the data that you've learned to work with and really be able to communicate that to the teams.
So as you're learning the subject and developing the tools to be a practitioner in it, you're also at the same time preparing yourself to land that job uh, in parallel.
Absolutely. And in fact, you said that beautifully. It's one of the things that at Rotman we pride ourselves on is being able to provide that amount of support and career curriculum and training to be able to have our students be employer ready at the end of their program.
Do you have one-on-one coaches and mentoring in the program?
Absolutely. In fact, that is probably at the forefront of some of what we do at Career Services at Rotman. We do have a dedicated team of career coaches who support our students both in group coaching as well as one-to-one coaching so that they're able to tailor the curriculum to the needs of our various students.
Great. Wincy, maybe you can share with us how Career Services helped you transition and land your job.
Yeah, I think career services, some of the things I found most helpful is there's a lot of sessions for you to attend. So it'll be sessions with different companies. So you can kind of attend, hear more from some of the recruiters, ask questions, and also obviously expand your network. So there's like dedicated sessions to different companies. There's also like invitations to wider conferences where you can learn about different topics and again expand your network. And again, a lot of one-on-one coaching. So the coach at the time, she was great in terms of like she'll help you review your resume, kind of give her thoughts on it. And if you're going through interviews, she'll also give you some tips. You can practice with her. And even in the negotiation stage, she can also help you like set things up, make sure you get the best offer you can. So honestly, a wide range of services. So I would say to make the most of it, I found it really helpful. Again, doing some pre-work before coming into the program because it's a very short
Sure.
time period. So I think like it was really helpful. I did some research ahead of time to think about these are probably the types of roles I'd be most interested in, and these are the industries I'd be most interested in. So then I could really use my time effectively with all the different career services that we're offering.
And I'm imagining, given the intensity of the program, that it is really helpful to have some sort of direction when you land
Yes.
in Toronto and you start the program, as opposed to being an explorer, not really knowing what you want.
Yes,
Right? Yeah,
definitely. They can
totally.
support you, but it's like I think the goals are most meaningful when you've done some of that reflection yourself to think about what do I really want.
So looking back, yeah, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to second that. I was going to say going through that reflective process of really, sitting with what's most important to you and what your goals are coming out of this program. And those may change while you're in the program. And that's what we're here to support you with on the administrative side and as part of career services. But taking the time to really think about it is very valuable.
Yeah. So, Wincy, looking back on your experience in the program, what would you say were the most valuable parts?
I think one of the most valuable parts for me was having access to, some leaders in their respective fields. Like we
Oh,
had a supply chain prof and any kind of optimization question, especially in the supply chain field, like he was amazing. And again, like I said, if you kind of have some idea of the roles you'd be interested in, I found it so helpful to have time with in different classes to say like when would you want to use this type of algorithm versus this, right? Like when you're in the program, that's the time to learn and ask all those questions, because once you go to industry and you're like a data scientist or something like that, you're expected to be the expert, right? So I would say the time in the program is when you can ask anything and you can really again get like it can you can ask the experts and they'll tell you, and it's like much faster than sometimes having to dig through all the papers and everything, and they can also point you to more resources. So that was number one, like the most helpful thing. And number two would be again like the different people in your cohort are very likely going to go on to work in that field. So you already have you've already expanded your network a lot just by being in the
right.
program. But then
Sure.
again, there's so many conferences and things you can attend to really get to know other people in the field and make sure you can land a job that you're happy with.
Yeah. And Everine, the size of your cohort in the program is what?
We do have two sections.
Mhm.
They're roughly about 50 students each, so around 100 students
So
altogether.
people get to know each other very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're in classes regularly with one another, intermingling not only with your specific section, but amongst sections. And so it does provide a nice, robust network for you.
Now, Wincy, did you have a favorite course or professor? And if so, why?
Hmm. We had one course that was kind of the focus was very much on different types of algorithms you can use in different situations or like different use cases. Like it covers a lot of different things. Like there's regression methods, there's also like the tree-based methods, there's also some of the more cutting edge stuff with reinforcement learning. I absolutely love that course because now as an analytical lead and right when I left the program, I actually went into consulting and I was a data scientist as I was part of the data science team, but in a consulting role. So a
Ah,
lot of times my roles could kind of serve as an analytical expert on a lot of different types of problems. So again, being exposed to a wide variety of techniques and having time to think through why you might use one or the other was so helpful, because that's basically exactly what I do now.
Wincy, how would you have described your classmates? What adjectives come to mind?
I would say thoughtful, curious, and I would say very analytical. Of course, that may be a bit of a cop out. It's the Master of Management Analytics. But yeah, I think everyone was very, very eager to ask questions, work together. So it was great. There's a lot of group projects as well, so you'll definitely get lots of time to like get to know the other students.
Avreen, would you add any adjectives to that? I would add smart, because you can't go into this program and not be smart.
I agree. So smart, ambitious, I would say resilient. It's a fantastic program. It's a robust program. You get so much out of it. And we truly do see the resilience in our students.
So, Wincy, take yourself back to before you started the program and you were considering these programs and applying to them. What advice would you have for the current crop of applicants?
Yeah, um, think about what kind of career outcomes you'd be happy with after the program. That was kind of the deciding factor for me. My previous, like my undergrad was in uh, medical research. So I think like there was kind of a choice for me to go down like a more traditional like research-based master's, or do something like this where there's I would say more of a focus on experiential learning. So I had to do a lot of reflection to think about, well, do I want to stay in academia? What kind of role would I want after? Or do I want to work in what kind of industry do I want to work in?
Right.
And for me, the what was very appealing about the MMA and data science in general is it's applicable to a lot of different kind of industries. You can have impact in a lot of different areas. So I love the flexibility it offered. And while academia is great, I think I realized like, oh, I like working in project-based environments, things like that. So I was like, what program is gonna best prepare me for what I want? So definitely do a lot of reflection on what success would mean to you after the program. What kind of role do you want? And what is going to best prepare you for that?
Now, Wincy, how hard was it? Be honest. How did it compare to your graduate experience?
um, it was it was definitely difficult at times. Like there was a lot of new materials and a lot of assignments, and you're also trying to balance like all the career opportunities at the same time, so you definitely need to prioritize. But my biggest piece of advice there is do some reflection, prioritize the opportunities you want. But if you decide to do something, like really go for it. Because I went to some networking sessions where you could tell like there's a big assignment due the next day. People are like trying to pay attention to the networking, but also do some work on the side. And
Right.
sometimes I would say, it kind of shows. So if you've decided I'm going to commit an hour to go to this networking session, make my absolute best impression, like just take it slow, focus on one thing at a time, and you'll make it through it. So
Is there time for fun?
yes, yes. I
Okay.
think that's something all of the students are very united on. Let's after an exam, let's still have fun. Let's go out. Let's bond as well in that way. So yeah.
Terrific. Abreen, what advice would you have for those considering these programs? What kind of thought process should you be going through? What kind of questions should you be asking yourself and others?
So I think Wincy actually covered it quite beautifully.
Yeah.
The recommendation would be going through the reflective process of what your goals are at the end of this program. What type of outcomes are you looking for, both academically and on the career front? One thing I wanted to share is while it is an internal reflective process, we also have a lot of support that we can provide through Rotman for our students as they go through that process. We do have a corporate relations team as part of our career services team. These are the folks that interface with industry. And so if there are questions related to what industry you're best suited for or interested in, or the types of roles, there's a lot of support in being able to provide that information. For those that are considering the Rotman MMA program, I would say really take some time to research the programs, all of them, not just the MMA program, but all the various programs that we offer, the MFRM, the MFin programs, and really find out what it is. Again, what's that final outcome that you're looking for, and which of our programs are there to help you get to that final outcome. I strongly recommend that you reach out to our recruitment and admissions team. These are the experts. They have all of the information on all of our programs. And if you have the opportunity, please do attend an informational session or a sample class, and it'll give you a sense of what to expect and a feel for, what it's like to be sitting in that classroom again.
Yeah, all really good advice. Now, Wincy, I want to ask you one of my favorite questions. Usually when I visit a campus and I like to go to have a drink with a bunch of students, I ask them this. One of the 3 things in the program that have most resonated with you, that have had impact far beyond your graduation date, what would the 3 things be to you?
Great
Maybe there was
question.
a consulting project. Maybe it's just the classmates and the interaction you had with them. Maybe it's developing a deep relationship with a professor who you can actually call on today. I'm stealing your thunder perhaps, but I'm giving you some.
Yeah, I think number one would be a lesson that a lot of our profs said again and again, and I found it to be very true in my everyday work, which is if you're, no matter what type of analysis you're doing, garbage in, garbage out. So it's like if you don't have good quality data, you're never going to get good results. This is something our profs iterated so much, and
Oh,
I
really?
really find it to be true. Number two would definitely be um, our so it was COVID, so we did have some limits on in-person interactions, but I would say our cohort had like a Discord. We still had like online events. We still had like a chat going. So again, like the resilience piece that I think was brought up earlier, I loved how everyone was still very open to connecting and we would all make efforts, and it made it a lot easier. There are times you're really busy, and having that community of other students to go through all the experiences together was great. And number three would probably be the practicum project. It was a very memorable experience. Like during the program, you have an opportunity to kind of take on a project with like a real company. And yeah, I think in class you learn a lot of stuff, but the data is typically very clean, and it's kind of like a bit uh it's like in the ideal scenario you can run these types of algorithms to get this kind of result, but once you're working with real data you begin to understand, oh my gosh, these are all the implementation challenges you're going to have to deal
Hmm.
with every day. So it really helped to like make everything real, and um yeah, that was really great, and also it helped me prepare a lot for my interviews as well, because it was like, okay, now I know these are probably the types of challenges that are going to come up.
Exactly. What kind of experience did you have there? What did your project involve?
Yeah, our project was so our client has a lot of real estate data, and something that I didn't even consider in class was like, so we had this huge data set to work with. The client had great data, but the thing is, obviously, there's costs involved whenever you're using like cloud resources or things to basically run your model.
Right.
And so, in order to save on costs, we actually couldn't even run the model with the entire data set to begin with. We were like testing with a much smaller data set. But yeah, like those are examples of things that don't really come up in class as much, because usually you're learning more like the math and theory, but then in reality, you realize like, oh, even when companies have access to all this data, like how do the different systems speak to each other? How do you like unite your data across all the different sources they have? And then even just again, the computational cost of running all these things. So yeah, you really see like, oh, okay, these are all the other constraints that you have to deal with.
You learn a lot when you try to apply theory to reality.
Exactly.
Averine, the three things that Wincy singled out, does that resonate with you? Is that what you hear from other students as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say both on the student side and the last point, very much on the employer side as well, just coupling those aspects of the technical skills along with communications and then that real life industry experience that you get through the project is often very attractive to our employers.
Yeah, like on the sorry, but just to say, like, even like on the real world experience side, it's like something you don't deal with in class, but you deal with a lot of employers is like, for our project, we need three different data sources, and one lives with this team, one lives with this team, and one lives with this team. So it's even talking to all the different stakeholders and figuring out how can I make you support my project? Like, how can I make a business case for you to get involved and like share your data with me?
It's a real world problem. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure to meet both of you and to talk to you about the program. Thank you for being on. We've talked about the Masters in Management Analytics from Toronto Rotman. If you want to know more, check out their website. It's very clear, a lot of detail on there. And I get to talk to a student in the program or an alum, so you really get the frontline view, as we did here from Wincy. So thank you very much. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.